Hello everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube channel, Mazz Reporter. Today, on January 16th, 2026, we're bringing you a clear and simple roundup of the top trending news stories from around the world, covering politics, business, technology, sports, climate, art and health. Let's begin. Top trending news from United Kingdom. Robert Jenrick, a former Conservative Member of Parliament, has left the Conservative Party and joined Reform UK. This happened after he was removed from his position by Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, who accused him of working against the party. Jenrick says that both the Conservative Party and the Labour Party have failed the country, claiming they have broken Britain. By joining Reform UK, led by Nigel Farage, he has given the party more attention and energy, helping it grow in popularity. Political experts say this move shows how unstable UK politics may become in 2026. Labour is dealing with problems inside its own party, and important local and regional elections are coming up, which could further change the political landscape. Top trending news from Europe. Tensions are rising over Greenland after talks between the United States and European countries failed to reach an agreement about the island's future. As a result, European troops from France, Sweden, Germany and Norway have arrived in Greenland's capital, Nuuk, to strengthen security. Denmark's foreign minister said there is a serious disagreement with the United States. Many European leaders are worried that President Trump may consider using the US military to increase American control over Greenland. At the same time, protests are spreading across Europe. Farmers in several countries are protesting against corruption, unfair trade deals, and cuts to subsidies. In Bulgaria, large demonstrations over the national budget have led to the government resigning. Top trending news from United States. President Trump met with Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado at the White House. Machado, who won the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize, gave Trump her medal as a symbolic sign of appreciation for his support for Venezuela's democratic movement after the removal of President Nicolas Maduro. Although the Nobel Peace Prize itself remains hers and cannot be transferred, she emphasized Venezuela's need for continued US backing as her country works toward a political transition. In other US political news, the Supreme Court recently blocked part of Trump's plan to use the National Guard in some cities, ruling that the administration did not have the proper legal authority to deploy the troops in that way. This decision limits how Trump can use federal military forces inside the United States and could push his administration to consider invoking the Insurrection Act, a rarely used law that allows the president to deploy military forces during serious civil unrest. Meanwhile, a group of US senators has raised concerns about changes at the US Postal Service that could affect mail-in voting. They warn that new postal policies, such as how ballots are postmarked and processed, might delay delivery of mailed ballots and make it harder for ballots to be counted in time during elections, especially in states that rely on postmark dates when validating votes. Top trending news from the Middle East. Protests are continuing in Iran, and there are reports that some planned executions have been paused after pressure from the United States. However, the US has not ruled out military action, and strikes are still being discussed as a possible option. Opposition figures such as Reza Pahlavi are being mentioned as people who could help unite the protesters, but many say the opposition still lacks clear leadership. Meanwhile, US officials warn that large military attacks could make the situation worse and may not succeed in removing Iran's leadership. Top trending news from the Far East. China and Japan are arguing again accusing each other over issues like public safety, past imperialism, and trade disputes. At the same time, China is strengthening its relationship with South Korea, especially through new agreements in technology and business. Experts are also discussing whether recent US actions in Venezuela could influence how China might act toward Taiwan in the future. Top trending news from South Asia. There are reports that Turkey might join a new defense partnership with Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. In this possible agreement, Pakistan in South Asia would provide its strategic location. Saudi Arabia would offer financial support, and Turkey would contribute military experience and technology. If this plan goes ahead, it could have an important impact on security and military cooperation in the region. Meanwhile, Bangladesh's temporary government has approved a law that protects July warriors, people who protested against the previous government, from being prosecuted. This decision comes during a period of political change in the country. In India, there is growing concern about relations with the United States under President Trump. Indian officials have received little reassurance on trade, and tensions remain because India is trying to maintain an independent foreign policy stance. Top trending news from Africa. Uganda is holding a presidential election, and the current president, Yoweri Museveni, is trying to win a 7th term in office. Opposition groups say the election is not fair, claiming there has been vote rigging, internet shutdowns, and delays in the voting process. The counting of votes is still going on. At the same time, in sports news, Nigeria defeated Uganda in the Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON, and moved to the next stage of the tournament. However, political developments are receiving much more attention than the football result. Top trending news in business. Stock markets across Asia reached record highs because investors are hopeful about artificial intelligence, AI growth. Strong financial results from Taiwan Semiconductor, TSMC, along with its plans to invest more money, helped push technology shares higher across the region. In South Korea, the stock market has now risen for 11 days in a row. However, investors are also watching possible risks in 2026, including changes in leadership at the US Federal Reserve, upcoming US elections, and rising global political tensions. At the same time, the United States and Taiwan are working on trade agreements to reduce tariffs and strengthen semiconductor manufacturing, which is seen as important for the global tech supply chain. Top trending news in technology. Sci5, a chip company, has started using NVIDIA's NVLink technology to connect computer chips more quickly. This is the first time this technology has been used with RISC-V chips, which could help improve AI performance in data centers. At the same time, the focus in artificial intelligence is changing. Instead of only making AI more powerful, companies are now working to make it more responsible and easier to use in everyday devices. At CES 2026, many companies showed AI that works directly on devices without always needing the internet. In education, Microsoft has launched Elevate for Educators, a new program that provides AI tools for schools, colleges, and universities, aiming to support both teachers and students in learning and teaching. Top trending news in sports. In the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON, Nigeria finished the group stage perfectly by beating Uganda 3-1, moving on to the round of 16. Tanzania also qualified for the tournament's knockout stage for the first time. Fans are talking a lot about young stars like Kobbie Mainoo from Manchester United and Lamine Yamal from Barcelona. People are especially curious about how much money they might earn, with Lamine Yamal expected to be worth $5 to $8 million by the end of the year, because of his football contracts and brand deals. Top trending news in climate. Climate concerns drop in global elite priorities at Davos. At the Davos meeting, world leaders and top business people are paying less attention to climate change. Instead, they are more worried about economic problems, like conflicts between countries over trade and resources. Scientists say 2025 is the third hottest year ever recorded on Earth. If temperatures keep rising, the world could break the limits set by the Paris Agreement by 2030. This could cause serious problems and cost trillions of dollars in damages sooner than expected. Top trending news in art. Art experts say that in 2026, artists will focus more on slow, careful work and ideas from different cultures, often avoiding strict categories. Some important exhibitions to see include Yayoi Kusama at Fondation Bela in Basel, Helene Scherfbeck at the Met in New York City, and Paul Cézanne's later paintings in Basel. New and rising artists like Ile Sartuzi in Sao Paulo will also be in the spotlight. Top trending news in health. In 2026, GLP-1 drugs, originally used for weight loss, are now being studied to help treat heart problems, kidney diseases, and even addiction. Other health trends include AI-powered wearable devices and the idea of food as medicine, both helping people improve their diets. Around the world, efforts to fight HIV and AIDS continue. Guided by UNAIDS's 2026-2031 plan, but funding is still not enough. Scientists also discovered why statins can cause muscle pain and found healthy compounds in a certain fruit that were previously unknown. Thank you for listening. If you found this breakdown helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. We'll continue to bring you clear, calm explanations of the stories shaping our world.